Welcome to section 1.3. In this video, we're going to be going over how to find products and quotients of numbers. So just so we all are on the same page, when I say the word products, that just is another word for multiplication, and quotients is just another word for division. So the rules, with that being said, before we dive into some examples, let's take a moment to look at the rules for finding products and quotients of numbers. So whenever we have two positive numbers being multiplied or divided, you will always get out a positive number as a result. And for our second rule, whenever you have a negative number and a positive number being multiplied or divided, you will always get a negative number as a result. And for our third rule, whenever you have two negatives being multiplied or two negatives being divided, you will always get a positive number as a result. So with that being said, let's take a look at some examples. So I encourage you to pause the video and give example 1 and 2 a try on your own before we work through it together. And assuming you have given it a try, for example 1, we have 5 times 3. So I'm going to actually just physically write out what this first example means. So in other words, 5 times 3 is asking us to add 5 3 times from 0. So let's do that. So we're starting at 0, and let's add 5 3 times. So 0 plus 5 is 5. So we added 5 once. So let's add a 5 again. Then 5 plus 5 is 10. And then since we added 5 2 times, let's add 5 one more time. So we have 10 plus 5. And that is 15. So our answer is 15. And looking at example 2, we have 15 divided by 3. And in other words, this is asking us 3 times what number gets us to 15. So let's count up by 3s until we get to the number 15. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So we just got to the number 15. So let's count how many numbers we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So 5 is our answer. Now looking at example 3 and an example 4. We now have a negative number and a positive number. Positive and negative. So in this case, for these examples, we are going to use our second rule. So with that being said, I encourage you to pause the video and give example 3 and example 4 a try on your own before we work through it together. And assuming you have given it a try, for example 3, there's a couple routes we can go about this. So you can either count by 5s, you can count by 5s 3 times, or you can count by 3 5 times. But I'm going to count by 5 3 times because 3 times is it's less work rather than having to count by 3s 5 times. So let's start by counting by 5. So we have 5, 10, 15. Now I'm going to stop here because we have 3 numbers. We're being asked to count by 5s or add 5 3 times. So since we have 3, this is going to be our ending point. So before I write the answer, taking a look at our second rule here, since we have a negative being multiplied by a positive, our answer is going to be a negative number. So let's write out that negative symbol. And since we counted up by 5 3 times and our last number is 15, that is going to be our answer. So our answer is negative 15. And looking at example 4, we have 15 divided by negative 4, or negative 5, my apologies. So in other words, this is asking us negative 5 times what number will get us to positive 15? Now, we know automatically, just from our second rule, whenever we have a positive divided by a negative or a negative divided by a positive, we'll always get out a negative number. So let's write that out in front here. Equals, and then let's write out that negative sign so we don't forget it in our final answer. But taking a look at this here, we know that we have a negative number, and then here we get a positive number as our answer. So the only way to go from multiplying a negative number to getting a positive number as our answer is multiplying by another negative number, right? Because a negative times a negative will get you a positive number. So we know for sure this question mark, this number here has to be a negative. So let's just you can just keep that in mind. So let's count up by fives until we get to the number 15 here. So we have 5, 10, 15. So we got to the number 15. So now that we got there, let's count how many numbers we have. So we have 1, 2, 3 numbers. So 3 is going to be our answer. Well, negative 3 is going to be our answer. My apologies. So yeah, that is our answer. And if we look down here with this question that we wrote, or the statement that we wrote, that makes sense. Because negative 5 times negative 3 does, in fact, equal positive 15. Because we have 2 negatives, and 2 negatives make a positive. So taking a look at example 5, we have this negative number that's kind of lingering outside this division problem. So let's draw out some parentheses around that, just so we can distinguish the difference between the two. So this negative's kind of just on the outside, hanging out there. And let me just write this down. So this here, this is called parentheses. So parentheses is how you spell parentheses. So in this case, this is asking us 2 times what number will get you to 10. So a quick way to go about this is we can count by 2s until we get to the number 10. So let's do that. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we just got to 10. So look how many numbers we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So since we have 5 numbers, we can say this is equal to 5. However, just please pay attention to the negatives, because the negatives do a huge difference in our answers and our results. So because we have this negative number, or this negative sign out here, don't forget to include that in your final answer. So our final answer is negative 5. And for example 6, 4 times negative 7. I encourage you to try this on your own, and let's work through it. So we can either count by 4s 7 times, or we can count by 7 4 times. So I'm going to count by 7 4 times, because that is less work than counting by 4 7 times. So let's count up by 7 4 times. So we have 7, 14, 21, and 28. So we counted by 7 4 times because we have 4 numbers. So let's write 28. And then this is not our final answer, because we have this negative here, because we're doing a positive number multiplied by a negative number. And if we look here, this is going to include our second rule. So we're going to have a negative number as our answer. So negative 28 is our final answer. Taking a look at example 7, remember we kind of have this negative number lingering outside. So let's just draw some parentheses around that. So this is asking us negative 10 times what number is going to get you 100. So let's count by 10 till we get to 100. So we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So let's count how many numbers we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 numbers. So let's write equals 10. And because this is a positive number divided by a negative number, we're going to have a negative. And because this negative number is kind of lingering outside, we also have another negative. So this problem has an additional step to it once you get the answer. So since we have this negative on the outside and this negative within the inside, and we're dividing a positive and a negative, we're going to get this as an answer. So we have negative times negative 10. So whenever you have two negatives, you can either just say chop, chop, and that'll get you a positive 10, which that is our answer. Or another thing you can do is realize, one other thing you can think of this as a negative 1 times 10. Negative 1 times negative 10, and we know two negatives being multiplied together will get you a positive answer. So looking at example 8, we have negative 7 divided by 7. So in other words, this is asking us 7 times what will get you negative 7. And the answer is negative 1. Now, before we go through examples 9, and this is supposed to be example 10. Let me fix that here. These numbers are messed up. But before you go through example 9 and 10, I encourage you to pause the video and give this a try on your own. And assuming you have given it a go, let's try this. So, example 9, we have negative 3 times 100. So, in this case, I'm going to add 100 3 times, or count up by 100 3 times. So we have 100, 200, and 300. Now that we've counted up by 100 3 times, 300 is going to be a part of our answer. And because we have a negative and a positive being multiplied, we're going to have a negative in our final answer. So our final answer is negative 300. Taking a look at example 10, let's count by 50 4 times. So we have 50, 100, 150, 200. So since we counted up by 54 times and we stopped at 200, 200 is going to be a part of our answer. Because we have a positive being multiplied by a negative, we're going to put in that negative number, or that negative sign as our answer, or within our answer. So our answer is going to be negative 200. Looking at, this is supposed to be example 11, we have negative 30 divided by negative 6. So in this case, this is asking us negative 6 times what will get you to negative 30. So let's count up by 6 until we get to 30. So we have 6, 12, 18, 24, and 30. So now that we got to 30, let's count how many numbers we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So since we have 5 numbers, 5 is going to be our answer. And you might be asking, why not negative 5? Well, if you take a look at the problem, we have a negative 30 and a negative 6. So we have two negative numbers being divided. If you take a look at our third rule here, whenever we have two negatives being divided, you get a positive number as your answer. And looking at our last example, we have negative 120 divided by 3. So in other words, let's draw out these parentheses first. So in other words, this is asking us 3 times what number will get you 120 as your answer. So you might be thinking, well, if you count by threes until you get to 120, that would take an awful long time, right? So another way you can think about this problem to help simplify it a little bit better, to do it mentally, is you can ask yourself, 3 times what will get you 12? And in this case, 3 times 4 will get us to 12. And if you notice here, this 120, the difference between 12 and 120 is that the 120 just has an additional 0 added to it. Or in other words, you have to multiply 12 by 10 to get to 120. So once you get this answer is 4, you can just do 4 times 10. And 4 times 10 equals 40. So 40 is going to be a part of our answer. And then, since we have this negative number on the outside, the negative is going to be included as our final answer. So the final answer is negative 40 for our last example. Thank you, and I can't wait to see you for section 1.4.